Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode. It's an interview episode, and I love taking the spotlight off of me. You guys know that I always do my information and training type episodes on Mondays, and Thursdays I save for someone else coming on here and sharing their story. The person that I have for you today, we have a lot of parallels, and I love everything that she's doing. Her name is Jillian Murphy, and she is the sales queen. And why I really love what Jillian teaches is not so much how to fall in love with sales. You know, my wife always says that sales is a contact sport. You got to get yourself out there. And this is something that Jillian specializes in. And it's a reason why I want her to have on here, but also to share the interesting story that she's worked on and worked through personally to get to where she is right now. So with all that being said, Jillian, welcome to today's episode.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Such a huge fan of you and of course your wife as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And, you know, there's a lot that I want to dive into, but before we get into all of that, for the listeners that are not familiar with Jillian Murphy and what she does and how she does it, tell the audience a little bit about, you know, what it is that you do, but more importantly, what you feel was that catalytic moment for you in your journey that has set you on the current path that you're now currently on.
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit of a backstory was I did 22 years in the corporate space. Didn't always love sales, but I loved people, fell in love with the art of building relationships and fell in love with just building people in human connection. What really grew my sales ability was, again, connecting with people and really building relationships. When I moved into the online space was just about 3 months after the pandemic. And that's what really blew my business up, was when I moved from the corporate space into the entrepreneurial space.
Yeah, and you know, human connection is everything. And I think no matter what your journey is. So, you know, I came from a background of owning a brick and mortar. I've never had a boss, and I jokingly tell people I've been psychologically unemployable since day one. So, but I still had to sell differently when I was selling gym memberships and personal training packages, you know, much like, you know, you were learning in the corporate side of things, but just something that you said, which is so important that I want people to really digest and understand, is that it's about falling in love with people, and it's about creating the human connection. And I say this in all my trainings, that the greatest asset and business tool that we have is our ability to create true and genuine human connection with other people. Why do you feel again, with everything that's been going on the last 2.5 years, it's been crazy. Mm-hmm. Certain things need to be automated in a business, but you can't automate human connection. So people like you and me, I don't even consider ourselves old school. We're just realists in the sense that how can you expect someone to buy something from you if you're not building a relationship with them first? So talk about the smoke and mirrors that you're seeing on social media with, you know, the people that, oh, you just post some stuff and people are going to buy it and you don't have to get on the phone with them. So talk about that whole story and narrative that's going on right now.
Oh my gosh, I love this conversation. So I just did a masterclass last week, and so many people ask me all the time, like, how are you so successful online? And I say, the way that I am online is the same way I was in corporate. I am prospecting every day. I am building relationships every day. When I'm in the DMs with people having conversations, that's no different than when I was in corporate and I would walk into a building and drop off my card and just get to know people. You cannot just post something on social media and expect someone to, you know, slide into your DMs and drop off their credit card and work with you. And the reason why I've been so successful and the reason why I sell so much on social media is because I'm not trying to sell. I'm literally just connecting with people every single day. And when you build relationships with people and you're not trying to sell them, that's where the magic happens. It may not be that person that I sell to, but it might be someone that they know, or somebody in their network, or somebody in their community. So some of the best relationships that I've built and some of the biggest contracts that I've actually brought into my business have been conversations that began over hair extensions, or their dog, or where they visited that weekend, or a movie that they saw. So it literally is going back to like pounding the pavement, just like I did in corporate. And that's the same thing that I'm doing on social media. I had somebody ask me today, is that really you talking in the DMs to people? Yep, that's really me talking in the DMs to people, because why would I ever want somebody else doing that for me? It's me.
This happened to me today. At the time that we're recording this, I did a masterclass, a free masterclass last week. And this woman that was on there just fully resonated with what I teach on LinkedIn, which is, obviously building the human connection aspect to create sales. And she, we got on a call today, or Zoom, and she read both of my books this past weekend, downloaded all my content, listened to a bunch of my podcast episodes, and ended up hiring me today. Mm-hmm. And the reason is you have to give in order to get. So when I spent that 90 minutes with her on that masterclass with the other people in there, and I took the time to hop on a 30-minute call with her to learn more about her business. And, when she said, well, what's it look like working with you? And I kind of described that. It's they've already been emotionally committed to you in the sense that they resonate with what you've taught. And that's what people need to understand. In sales, you have to create an emotional connection. That's when people buy, they're buying emotionally. Like, oh my God, I need that. Like Nancy and I saw this thing on YouTube the other day and we're totally getting it. And it's this like contraption that without making your house smell terrible, it composts all of your stuff right on your kitchen counter. It doesn't smell, and it breaks it down into soil that you can use in your gardens. And we have 4 garden boxes in our backyard. So I'm like, oh my God, I fell in love with it. I'm like, we are ordering that. So
I have to have it.
But that struck an emotional connection with me because I care about the environment. I don't like wasting garbage. And again, we have vegetables and fruit that we grow in our backyard, and I want to feed those things. So and when I built that emotional connection with her, I bridged that gap between the problems that she has and the solutions that I can offer her, like you said, without selling. And this is what people think, it's like this like facade. Like, what do you mean you can sell without selling? Well, selling is nothing but delivering value up front to someone that has told you a specific pain point that they're having that you can fill with an offering that you have. So break that down for a second. When people say, Jillian, I don't get it. How do you sell without selling? What does that all look like?
Yeah, what it looks like is, one, it's a lot of people, I guarantee, buy from me just because they want to be in my energy. Like I am providing the solution, because let's be honest, they can listen to a sales podcast. They can listen to a sales book. They can buy sales from a lot of people. What they're buying is me. Just like people are buying Aaron, people are buying whoever it is. Like, that's the human connection. And if you take that out, that's what they're missing. That's why getting on those sales calls or having those audible messages in the DMs, any of those things, that's what's so important. Again, they're buying you. So are you really showing up? Are you really having those conversations? And when you go in just trying to sell, people can smell that a mile away. So what are you actually doing to build those relationships and not just going in for the sale? I was on a call yesterday with somebody and he said, well, how do I go in to build a conversation in the DMs without an ulterior motive? You go in to build a conversation without actually having an ulterior motive. Just get to know people. It's not always about like, how can I get on this podcast to sell somebody? How can I get into the DMs to sell somebody? Just focus on humans and heartbeats, and I promise you the sales will come. And quit trying to build a business today. You're building a business for longevity, and that's where humans and heartbeats really matter.
The whole thing, what I tell people all the time is people can smell a sales pitch from a million miles away.
It's commission breath. I call it commission breath.
Yeah, they can smell it in a DM. They can smell it in a conversation. And when people say, well, what am I supposed to say? And this is something part of what I teach in my LinkedIn system. It's, you have a discovery call and they're like, well, when do I sell them? I'm like, you're not selling them.
You're not.
It's called a discovery call to discover something about one another. And it's a dance. Like, people make the correlation when you're in sales, it's almost like dating, right? When you
Yes.
go on that first date, you're getting to know the person, right? You're asking questions, you're trying to find relatable point. What's your favorite music? Where do you like going on vacation? What's your favorite food? And then you latch on to those things, and the connection gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And you're not saying, all right, you want to go up to my bedroom now? Like, you're not.
Want to get married?
Right. No one's looking for that one night stand. And then there's like, well, I really enjoyed this conversation. Let's have a follow up. Let's have a second date. And then it may be the second date, and maybe the third date. But again, if you start treating it like you're building meaningful relationships, because here's what people forget, Jillian, is that the people that you're connecting with, it may not be that person that's the best fit for you,
Yeah.
but if you leave a solid of enough impression on that person,
Yep.
and they do run into someone that has a problem, a gap, a hole, a void in their business, that they remember you and how you help people, guess whose name is going to come out of their mouths?
It's so true. I did a sales call with somebody on Friday, and her and I just weren't a good fit. Like, what she needed was not me. Right before I jumped on this call, I got tagged in a Facebook group. Somebody was like, oh, do you know a sales coach? And she tagged me. So she wasn't a good fit for me and her, but now she's referring me to somebody else. If I just would have came on there and tried to pitch her on something that wasn't a good fit, she would have been like, that girl's gross, sleazy, slimy, salesy. She definitely would not be putting my name in a Facebook group with tens of thousands of people.
I'm open and honest with people when I'm on a discovery call with people. If they're not a good fit, I'll tell them, like, listen, as much as you would like to work with me, I just feel with what I do, it's not the best fit, and I'm going to recommend someone else. And,
Absolutely.
they always say, Scott, thank you so much. Nancy did this the other day. Nancy actually had a client in her agency. There were a couple red flags. And again, this is something that people go through all the time. And she's like, you know what, I'm going to push through it anyway, getting to know the person. And they had some good calls. And then there was some backtracking done, and it just stopped feeling right. So I remember Nancy was, I forget what, she was on a Q&A with someone. And, Nancy said, well, what do you, what's one of the biggest takeaways that you've taken from being in business? And the person said, don't be afraid to fire your clients.
Absolutely.
And so as Nancy was kind of transcending through this, I said, listen, it's time for you to fire your client. I said, this is not a good fit. You're getting stressed out. It's stressing our team out. They're frustrated because now they're held up by all the other clients that they need to serve. And, Nancy wrote a very nice professional email and said, I know this wasn't a good fit. You may have felt it was, but after talking to the team, it wasn't. But here's what I want to do. Here's a contact information of someone that would be a great fit for what you're looking for. I'm giving you a 100% full refund. And here's the person's contact info. And again, you leave people better. And for some people, they if they set their ego aside, they'll say thank you. But everyone has some emotional growing to do. But she did the right thing. And the other thing that I learned from that experience, but knowing now, being in sales for as long as I have, is that you don't want to work with everyone. This is the other thing that people need to understand. Why people keep talking about niching down is because you don't want to work with clients that energetically aren't a good fit. You don't want to work with clients that you really can't serve. You're just doing it for the money. So how important has it been for you to niche down, but also with what you teach your clients about the fact that you don't want to work with everybody?
Oh, I'm super niche down. I'm even niche down to the fact of, like, I only will work with action takers. I will only work with people who are like, very into like strategy. Like, so I'll give you like a really great example. Like, I am very into like action taking. I'm very into like strategy. So I always say that like, I won't even really work with people who just want to like maybe manifest their business or just kind of want to sit down and like journal. So what I do, even in my own content, I say like, if this is how you want to build a business, like I'm not the coach for you. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who like roll their eyes at that, but you know what? That's okay, because I only want to work with those types of people. So there's a lot of people who are afraid to niche down, and it's not even saying like, I only want to work with business people. I get very specific and very granular, because guess what? I want to work with people, one, that energetically light me up, two, that are going to be like, just like me on a call, right? My people are just like me, and that are going to do the work. So again, niching down is so important. And this is the other thing, kind of like what you're talking about with Nancy. I tell people all the time, if I'm not the person for you, I'm going to refer you out. A lot of people hire me because they think I'm like an all-in-one business coach. I'm not. I'm not here to help you with your systems. I'm not here to help you with your marketing. I'm not here to help you manifest your business. Like, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a mindset coach. So I will tell people all the time, like, this is actually not in my zone of genius, but I have a huge community, and let me refer you out to somebody, because I am not going to do someone a disservice and take them on because I'm never going to get them results. Then they're never going to refer me out.
And for people that don't know this, manifestation is another word for taking action, just to let everybody know. So when people, you hear these manifestation coaches, all it is putting together a plan of action for you to take steps forward, to actually put the energy out there to bring something back. And you can't think yourself into a successful business. You just can't. Now, your thoughts do control a lot of what goes on. And that's, Jillian and I are not telling you that we don't journal, because, you know,
I do every day.
Everybody journals, and
every day.
And everybody has goals. Everybody has vision boards, and we do think about what we want to attract, but I'm not going to teach all of that. I'm not going to teach someone how to journal and come up with your goal board like you. I'm an actionable, tangible go-getter of a coach. Like, I want people that are ready. And the person that I spoke to today, and she's like, Scott, I just want to get into action and I want to see some traction. I said, well, that is what I do. So moving from the corporate space into the online space, it was a challenging transition for a lot of people. Even though it was an easier transition for you, because you were taking those skills and all of those things that you learned in the years of being in corporate, but moving to the online space, what was one of the challenges that you did face that there was a little bit of a learning curve before you worked through it?
I would say probably the biggest learning curve that I had was really just putting the blinders on and focusing on my own business. What I would say would probably be the biggest learning curve that I have. But I will say the biggest benefit of that was I've had the same mentor from day one. So I've been with the same business coach for 19 months now, that it's been 22 months. So I think that was what really did it, because I think when you come into this space, there's a billion shiny objects. A lot of us join big programs where there's, 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, 50 people, and it's really easy to get sidetracked. So very quickly I was like, oh, I need all of these things. And I put my head down. And again, even though I was in some of these bigger masterminds, I had one mentor, and she's still my mentor to this day, Raquel Quinnett. She's amazing. And she's been my coach since day one. And that has been the biggest saving grace for me.
That's so funny, because I just recorded an episode on the Raquel show, and Raquel was in our mastermind last year. And she's, again, you are completely right. She's amazing. She's coming on my podcast soon too.
She's my ride or die.
And that's the thing, you find something that works. And Nancy and I always have something, we focus on being singular focused, having that, becoming that category of one, right? And, when you become a category of one, when people think Jillian Murphy, they're going to think the sales queen, right? When they think Scott Aaron, they're going to think LinkedIn expert. So you're the person that says, well, I do marketing funnels, and I do landing pages, and I do Facebook ads, and I do LinkedIn stuff, and I do this and I do that. So when you're connecting with people, their head starts to spin. But not only that, when someone does stumble upon someone else that could utilize your help, they're not going to think of you, because they're going to focus on you want to learn Facebook ads. I know this person that only focuses on Facebook ads. So getting back to niching down, how important is it for someone in entrepreneurship that has that online business? How important is it to have that category of one singular focus when you're looking to grow your business?
it's the game changer. This is, I refer it to like the medical field, right? Do you want to be a generalist or do you want to be a specialist? Because there's a lot of generalists out there right now, but there's not a lot of specialists, and people look for the specialist. They're known for one thing. And let's be honest, people spend a lot more money for a specialist. So they come to the specialist, they spend more money on them, and they're easier to refer out. Just like you, right? You need LinkedIn, you go to Scott Aaron. You need sales, you go to Jillian Murphy. That is why I've been on a wait list for over a year, because when people need sales, they instantly say Jillian Murphy, right? Oh, I need someone for LinkedIn. They say Scott Aaron. So that is why, because again, there's so many people. And again, if you are concentrating on so many different things, you're not going to be able to give people those results. And you're just going to be one of many. Get really good on something. I call it mental real estate. Take up one thing in your ideal client's heads. And again, when someone asks a question in a Facebook group or on a podcast or mentions your name at an event, you're going to always be that person that people go to. And it's going to be whiz. That's why we were talking earlier today when I said, oh, I have this guy in my mastermind. And he was like, oh, I'm on LinkedIn. I was like, oh my God, you know Scott Aaron? He's like, Scott Aaron's my business coach. Like you were the first person that came to my mind as soon as he said he was on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's just like you. I'm tagged all the time. Someone has I'm in a couple networking groups and people have questions about LinkedIn. You know, they tag me in it. Scott, what do you think here? So it's about that repetition. So the big thing that I want to talk about is, because there's so many people that have come in to the entrepreneurial space in the last 2.5 years, knowing what you know now, what would you say are the top 2 or 3 quality traits that someone really needs to have in order to succeed as an entrepreneur? Because we know from a very foundational level, it's not cookie cutter. It's not easy. It's not always fun. It's not a get rich quick thing. You're not gonna, these people that say, oh, I started my business 3 months ago and I'm making 6 figures a month. Like it's not that. It's not that. So if you had to kind of peel away those attributes that you have, that I have, that your clients have, that really start setting people apart, where they're going to be something someday, what would you say those 2 or 3 quality traits are that people need to have?
I would say tenacity and patience.
And they talk about patience being a virtue for a reason.
Yeah, like you have to have patience. I mean, when people start working with me and they say like, hey, how can I make 6 figures in the next 6 months? I'm like, you need to calm down, because again, it doesn't happen like that. And this is how every conversation is going to go. I'm probably not the coach for you, because I'm not going to be in this energy all the time where you're like, I got to make 6 figures tomorrow. Because again, it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. Does it happen like that for some? Sure. Are there some magical unicorns out there? Sure. But it doesn't happen like that for everybody. So like, calm down, have some patience, know that all businesses are built over time. And are you trying to build a business for one successful year, or do you want to be here in 3 years, 5 years, in 10 years when everybody else's businesses are going to crash because they didn't have the patience?
So Nancy and I, we go on a, after we're done, we go on like a little neighborhood walk just to kind of, process the day and talk about things. And she said something really interesting to me last week when we were on one of our walks. And she said to me, she goes, what I feel is going to happen, because since a lot of things are opening back up, she said, I see a lot of people, either A, that couldn't make it work in entrepreneurship the last 2.5 years, going back and finding a job, or B, the ones that have been holding off for the last 2.5 years about investing in their business are now going to be finally ready to do so. What is your take on that?
I think that you're going to see a lot of people going back to corporate, or a lot of people going back to getting jobs. I think that's probably more for sure than anything, because I see it happening. I see people, they don't get quick results and they quit. I see it all the time. Like, oh, I've been trying to get this coaching business up and running for 3 months. I think I just need to go back and get another job. I see it all the time. So it breaks my heart.
Yeah. And we were talking about in the pre-show, you and I both have a fitness background. We both competed. And when you're getting ready for a show, it's a 14 to 16 week process. So you don't say, well, I'm going to step on stage and you do it tomorrow and look like that. It's a process. And that's the same thing with entrepreneurship. It may be 16 weeks, it may be 16 months, it may be 16 years.
In your first one, you might suck and you got to do it again. You got to do it again.
And it's funny because everyone sees the success that certain people have, like yourself or us, but they see the glory, but they don't know the story behind all of it. They don't know all of the ups and downs, the failures, the things that didn't work. Because again, your failures open the doors to your successes, because those are the lessons that you learn of how to make something succeed and how to make something work the right way. So what would be your best piece of advice to that person that, came over to our side as far as being an entrepreneur, has been struggling, is having thoughts of going back to where they came from in the corporate world, has their doubts, but they still have that burning desire in their heart that, like, I really don't want to go back. I really want to make this work. What would you say is the first next step for them?
One is like, look for guidance, look for mentorship, like work with someone who can help get you there, right? Like find the gaps in your business and really look for true support. And this is something that I say too, work with people that have truly built successful businesses, because there's a lot of people in this space who are mentors, coaches, whatever, and they're here because they read a book or they went through a mastermind. Let's go back to fitness competitions, right? There's a lot of people who stepped on stages and then all of a sudden we're fitness coaches or nutritional coaches. Find yourself a mentor that truly knows how to build a business, whether it's online or offline, and work with those people. There's a reason why I work with the mentors that I work with. There's a reason, you and I have built the businesses that we've built with. We have foundations that we've built offline and also we've built online. And then the second thing is, what are the reasons why you decided to do this? Was it just money driven? Or was there a bigger reason? Get back to why you really wanted to do this and get really clear on it. You need to have a why, I swear, that makes you like cry every day and makes you want to get up every single day and do this.
It was something that Raquel actually asked me when I was on her show. She said, she goes, if you can go back, or if someone is new to this online space, she said, what's your best piece of advice for them? I said, hire a coach. Mm-hmm. She said, what do you mean? I said, hire a coach. If you think that you are going to become an entrepreneur and just listen to a bunch of podcasts, read a bunch of books, join a bunch of free Facebook communities, sit on some webinars, and not have to do anything more than that to become successful, you're wrong. The best decision I ever made was, almost 9.5 years ago, I hired my first coach. And it was when I first got into the online space. I was brick and mortar, and then I went into the online space, and a friend of mine said, you got to hire this guy. He'll help you. And he did. And I haven't stopped investing since. And I absolutely attribute the success that we've had, the impact that we've made, because I realized and understood from day one the value of investing in myself.
100%.
I never saw hiring a coach or felt that it was an expense. It was always an investment. And it didn't, I never said, well, how much is this going to cost me? It's like, what's my investment? And there's a huge mental shift when you have that different relationship with money. So for you, and I know you've been with Raquel for years, but how important has it been for you? And it, again, we can't attribute everything that we've accomplished to coaching, because again, we had to take action, and you have to have skills to do so. But how much has the coaching aspect for you personally, you being coached, how much has that helped you achieve everything you have?
Oh, it's huge, because this is what I say, like, she's a partner in my business, right? Like, she's helped guide me. She's helped keep me accountable. She has seen things that I don't see. She's built businesses offline. I've been in other programs, I've been in masterminds, I've been around people that have seen gaps in my business. Now, I've taken programs where I've learned like a skill, like I've taken LinkedIn courses, I've taken things where I've needed to learn skills, but having that mentor in my business is very, very important. And, we're talking about our mentors. I tried to do it cheaper. So for 3 months, I was like, hey, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a break, Raquel. I don't think I need a mentor. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to do it. And I tried to do it cheaper. And my business for 3 months was flat. I didn't have accountability. I didn't grow it. And after 3 months, I went back, and that was a huge learning lesson for me. And this is what I found out. Don't try to do it cheaper. And just like you said, don't try to do it with someone that hasn't built businesses offline, because I hired someone who was a online business coach only. And guess what? They couldn't actually answer even the questions that I needed because they only knew A, B, and C. They only knew online business. So when I would bring them questions, they'd be like, I don't really know. And that's the moment that I knew that I needed someone that was light years ahead of me, that if I wanted to get to my business to that's where it was.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of people misunderstand coaching as, yes, it's just a matter of you knowing more than the person that you're going to be working with. But people want to work with someone who have already paved the path to where they want to get to. And here's the other thing. If your coach doesn't have a coach, I wouldn't work with them.
Never. No.
The teacher is always the student. So Nancy and I are always at all points of the year, we're either in a one-on-one coaching plan, we're in a group coaching scenario, or we're in a mastermind at all times, each of the last 5 years. And that's not going to stop. That is a part of our business plan. Like Nancy and I sit down at the end of Q3 and we say, where is our next investment going this coming year? Yeah. So what program are we investing in? What mastermind are we getting into? And we did. So, we invested in Stu McLaren's mastermind this year because we really want to pour some gasoline on the memberships that we have. We diagnosed that, okay, we have certain aspects of our business figured out, but this is still a kink in our hose. Let's pour some gasoline on that. And, so if you're looking for a coach, look at their credibility, look at their track record, ask, don't
who's
ask
pouring into them. Like who's pouring into them? Like I would say, like my clients are so lucky because they get like who's pouring into me. Your clients get who's pouring into you. It like all runs down.
Exactly. So, with everything that you have going on, obviously the one thing that I outside of everything else you're doing, I want you to touch on this little men's group that you've created, because we were also talking in the pre-show about how there's a lot of, I don't want to say girl gangs, but there's a lot of like, okay, we're going to say there's a lot of girl gangs out there. Yeah. And there's a lot of entrepreneurial men, like myself included, that, have masculine and feminine energy, but also want to be a part of something. They want to be included. So tell us how that all came about and what you created to support those men that want to be a part of something.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, one of my core values is community. And I've built a ton of female communities. I've built retreats. I've built these like co-working sessions. I built a huge like female groups inside of my organization. And I started to get a lot of men that would message me and say like, hey, we want to come to virtual coffee hour. We want to come to these community events. So I started to kind of like invite these men into my groups. And at first it was a little weird, but then I was like, I actually really like it. And interestingly enough, I actually mentored 227 men in corporate. I was the only female inside of my organization. So it was actually like really refreshing because men are actually what I've always worked with in corporate. So then I just kind of put on my story one day, like, hey, are there men who are like looking for community, who are kind of looking for tribe, who sometimes are inside of coaching programs and feel like they're dominated by women or, can't really feel like they can kind of speak up? And I had a lot of men that just kind of slid into my DMs and they were like, we actually want tribe. We want community. So I put together like a men's only mastermind and I sold it out the first day. I was like shocked. I have 9 men in my first round and it's kicking off. It's going great. So there's definitely going to be more men focused programs. And again, I tend to be more on the masculine side, more that energy result type of person. But it's really good. And we had our first call 2 weeks ago and it was so good to see them kind of really talking like about their businesses and really kind of showing up. And it's interesting because even just the way that they like create content or the way that they get on their stories, I was able to coach them so differently that I know for a fact that they're missing in these programs where it's male and female together. Because they're not going to slide into a DM the way that a female would. They're not going to get on their Instagram stories like a female would. And I was able to break it down so differently for them that it was like mind blowing and eye opening for them.
I love that. So with everything you have going on, where can people go to find out more about you, what you teach, classes, courses, trainings, coaching, all of that stuff? Where's the best place for people to go?
Yeah, just Instagram, the Jillian Murphy. I have a new page I started about 6 months ago. So come over, say hello again, the Jillian Murphy, and I'd love to get to know you.
Awesome. So all that'll be in the description of the episode. So Jillian, final question before we sign off today. What does success truly mean to you?
Success truly means to me is that when I can impact others, that they love the life that they're designing.
That's what it's all about. It's giving in order to get and serving those around you. So, Jillian, thank you so much for being here today. Loved the chat, loved the talk, and I know the listeners are going to really gobble this one up, and just really grateful for you. And thank you again for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you, everyone, for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.